I felt very sexy in those underwear and still do to this day.
God.
Showtime. Welcome to Hey, did you ever see that movie? I'm your host, Des, and as always, I'm joined by my angry co-host, Lynn.
My theory on feds is that they're like mushrooms. Feed them shit and keep them in the dark. You girls have a good day.
And joining us today, the podcaster with 1,000 potions, Mickey.
What's the matter, smartass? You don't need fucking Shakespeare?
How about them apples? Today, we will be discussing the 2006 crime drama, The Departed, written by William Monahan, directed by Martin Scorsese, based on Internal Affairs by Alan Mack and Felix Chong, starring the great Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson, Marky Mark Wahlberg, Martin Sheen, and Alec Baldwin.
Martin Sheen.
Okay. As always, this podcast will contain spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it. Then come back and listen to the podcast. Okay. It is time for Dez's 4-in-1 fun and 1 fake facts, where we give you 4 real facts and 1 fake fact. And it will be up to my 2 co-hosts to decide which fact is total bullshit. Okay. Fact number 1. Leonardo DiCaprio gained 15 pounds of pure muscle for his role as Billy Costigan. Fact number 2. Al Pacino was actually Scorsese's first choice for the role of Costello, but he turned it down, so Scorsese went with his second choice, Jack Nicholson. Number 3. Leonardo DiCaprio went to Boston before shooting and spent time with people tied to the Irish mob. Number 4. As research for his character, Matt Damon worked closely with the Massachusetts State Police Unit out of Boston and even participated in a live drug raid. And number 5. Martin Scorsese said that he loosely modeled the end of The Departed after one of his favorite movies, The Usual Suspects. Mickey, which fact do you think is total bullshit?
I'm going to go with number 2.
Number 2, Al Pacino was Scorsese's first choice for the role of Costello. Delyn, which fact do you think is total bullshit?
I also was going to go with number 2.
Both of my co-hosts went with fact number 2, and once again, I have stumped the panel. I'm on quite a roll. Actually, seems like neither of you were paying attention to the end of the movie because it really had nothing to do with The Usual Suspects.
Well, you said loosely, so I didn't know.
Very loosely. Number 5 was the bullshit.
Gotcha.
Was the bullshit. And actually, it's funny because Jack Nicholson also turned the role down. He didn't want to do it, but after meeting with Scorsese and DiCaprio, they convinced him to do it. And he had been doing a bunch of comedic roles up to this. Was kind of on a roll of comedic roles, and he thought it was time to get back to his his Jack Napier ways.
Wow.
Okay.
85?
Is he?
I could not believe he's 85.
I can't believe it.
God damn, he still looks... I mean, I know this was filmed a long time ago. He still looks amazing.
Yeah. For 85, I mean, hell yeah. With a box office budget of $90 million and a box office gross of $291 million, The Departed was considered a smash success. Delyn, would you like to give us a synopsis?
You got it. South Boston cop Billy Costigan goes undercover to infiltrate the organization of gangland chief Frank Costello. As Billy gains the mobster's trust, a career criminal named Colin Sullivan infiltrates the police department and reports on its activities to his syndicate bosses. When both organizations learn they have a mole in their midst, Billy and Colin must figure out each other's identities to save their own lives.
His what bosses? Oh, syndicate. Oh, okay. Big words. Okay. So before we get into it, you know I love story time. So let me ask you both. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. Delyn, have you ever been arrested?
No.
You have no criminal record?
None.
Mickey, you can plead the fifth or you can answer the question. Have you
Well,
ever been
no,
arrested?
I've been arrested once.
One arrest. Would you like to share the circumstances?
Sure, because it was really stupid and really fun.
Okay.
So I was I was 18 years old, and oh boy, I was in Hampton Beach, New Hampshire,
Nice.
with 3 girlfriends who I will not name, and
Don't name names.
don't name names. And we just got stupid and said, "Yeah, let's get some alcohol and drive around Hampton Beach." And somehow we got it into our head that we were all talking in British accents, and so we had people convinced we were in an all-girl British rock band.
I love this story. That's why I show up every week.
And so yeah, so we were you just kind of do a loop. I mean, that this is back in, God, how old was I? I think I was 19 or 20. So this, dating myself here, but and then at one point we had pulled over to the side to talk to this group of guys, and I looked to my right because I was in the front passenger seat, and there was the paddy wagon. I hate to say paddy wagon, but the police van.
Right.
And I was like, oh, so I don't know what I was thinking, but I leaned forward. Like, if I lean forward enough, he won't see the fucking open container of alcohol right in the front seat of the car. And I kind of smiled at the guy driving the van. Needless to say, they pulled us over, and they asked for IDs and stuff. And one of the girls is still talking in a British accent. And I said,
Oh, God.
I said, he's seen your license. He knows you're from Revere. You can cut the act now, right? So they put us in the van, take us to the freaking jail, impound my friend's car. And this is back when I was like ridiculously like super skinny. Like people thought I had an eating disorder skinny, even though I didn't. And so we were in the back of the van, and we were on the way to jail, and I took my handcuffs off.
Oh, God.
And my girlfriend said, "Oh my God, put those back on." I'm like, "Look what and I felt like Stuart, look what I can do."
Look what I can do.
And so I remember getting out of the van, and I was like the second or third one out, and the cop says, "All right, come on." And I go, "Here you go. You might want these back." And I handed them to him, and he started laughing. And I think they literally just took us there to scare us, because they literally took our pictures, put us in a cell for a little bit, and then let us go.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was mostly just to wisen you up, I think.
Right. Yeah. So
that's your brush.
That was my big brush with the law.
Cool. So,
he only asked about your story so he could tell his.
No, I wanted to hear everybody's stories if they had them and they wanted to share.
He wants to talk about his cat milking days in Motown.
That's good. That's going to be a little meet the parents for anybody who doesn't know. So this might surprise our listeners after 30 episodes, but I have never been arrested. I have no police record, which is cool, in my opinion. But I was the main suspect in 3 investigations and was acquitted all 3 times. So I will only share one of these stories with you because this is the one that was probably the most interesting. So I was painting the front and back doors of a strip of condos in Bridgewater. So there were probably maybe 10 or 15 condos that were all side by side. So it was during the day, and I had the keys to each one of them, so I could open the front door and paint it, and then go around back and paint the back door. So I had done that during the day, and I locked up all the condos. There's really nobody home. It was during work hours. I locked everything up and I went home. So I got a call from the Bridgewater Police Department, and one of the units had been burglarized while I was working there, and I locked up afterwards. So I was the suspect. It was me. Like, they're like, "Dude, you were there. You had the keys. The place was robbed. You locked it up and went home. Like, you robbed the place." I'm like, "I didn't fucking rob the place." So I had to go down to the police department. I had to meet with the detective. They took a statement, and he said, "You're pretty much the suspect. We're just going to see how this plays out." So it became obvious that they weren't really looking for anybody else and they weren't doing any detective work. They were just trying to connect me to the crime. Like they wanted to basically just find some evidence that it was me and arrest me for it. But I had gotten friendly with the condo association guy and he didn't think I would do something like that. So he took it upon himself. There was a Home Depot right across the street. He took it upon himself to go over there and ask if they had any surveillance camera from the parking lot from that day. And they let him see the surveillance camera from that day. And it showed a black car pull up in front of the condo. I was around back painting, apparently. A guy jumped out with a black bag, empty, ran into the condo that was robbed, came out a couple of minutes later with the bag full, jumped back in the car, and took off. So they ran the plate number. It was a guy from Brockton. They went down, they found him, they found some of the stolen goods. He had sold some of it. And, he was like a convicted bad guy. And yeah, so I was innocent. Yeah.
So I'm the only one with a record.
You're the only criminal on the podcast officially.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, Dylan, it's your turn then.
Yeah, I know. I didn't do anything. I'm pretty
You
good
drove
kid.
your mom's car into a snowbank.
I did, but I didn't get in trouble for it because I got it out.
Dude, remember when we got pulled over by the bicycle cops in Hampton Beach?
Yes, we got pulled over by bicycle cops in Hampton Beach.
I'm like, baby, I think we're getting pulled over. She's like, what? I'm like, no, by a guy on a bicycle. He's right beside my window.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Yeah, he was like, donk, donk, donk on the window. I was like, oh my God. I pulled over. He's like, slow down. I'm like, oh, okay.
I'm like, we can't be going that fast because you just caught up with us on a huffy.
Oh my God. All right. So shall we get into it?
Yes. And I wrote today's script and I think it's a winner.
I rewrote today's script, honey. It's already all different.
I actually plagiarized this. I took the script. I found this website that writes all the shit out for me. So all I have to do is just read it off the website with my microphone on, and there it is, script.
Yeah, that's plagiarism.
Saving me hours of work, and the script's going to be tight.
And then I still have to rewrite it. I spent an hour rewriting it, but okay.
Here we go. Shakespeare.
All right. Frank Costello, played by Jack Nicholson, is monologuing at the start of our movie. He's an Irish gangster whose general life philosophy is to take whatever you want and kill anyone who gets in your way. In a flashback, Frank meets a little boy named Colin Sullivan, played as an adult by Matt Damon, and takes him under his wing. He teaches Colin his life's philosophy and helps him out with groceries. When Colin grows up, he goes into the police force of the Massachusetts State Police. While on the force, he will be in continuous connection with Frank, feeding him information. At roughly the same time, another young man by the name of Billy Costigan, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, is also joining the force. Billy is called into Captain Queenan's office, played by Martin Sheen, and it's revealed that Billy's family has a history of crime. Queenan and Sergeant Dignam, played by Marky Mark Wahlberg, sees his potential to not just be a by-the-book rookie cop, but use his family's background to insert him into Southie's crime world and have him be a deep undercover informant with the goal of getting into Costello's orbit. Billy accepts. So there's a lot to unpack in these first couple of scenes.
I added the Marky Mark thing. That wasn't in the write-up. Go ahead, Nikki.
He had such a great cast. I forgot how good of a cast this movie had.
I think the strongest parts of the, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that Leonardo and fucking, what's his face? Matt Damon and Jack Nicholson aren't fantastic, but like it's the ones kind of in the background, like when you get to Alec Baldwin and you get Martin Sheen, like it's like, oh my God, like they're playing the little piddly parts, but they give it such gravitas. It was really actually pretty good.
And Vera, I love her.
Yes.
She was fantastic.
Yeah. The beginning of this movie obviously feels a lot like Goodfellas. When De Niro meets the little kid and says, here's some grocery money and blah, blah, if you want. So we're also going to get the super trope for these gangster movies, the fucking Rolling Stones, Oh
yeah.
It's like, come on. I love this song. But come on, Scorsese, you're better than this. This, like, at least pick a different Rolling Stones song.
Well, literally, I finished the movie and I walked out and I looked at Des and I go, so basically, it's Goodfellas for Irish people, and he was like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. But the beginning is awesome. Jack Nicholson is disgusting in this scene. Did you get your period yet? And
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Yeah, gross.
and yeah. I mean, Kia, get some makeup. I'm like,
Now,
whoa.
can I ask you, because I was a little confused on this. So this was when Matt Damon was young and he went
Yes.
into that thing and he was like asking the girl, did you get your period, get some makeup? In the present day, was that his girlfriend?
I don't know. For part of me thought maybe she's just was like his type.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I asked Tony and he's like, I don't know, honey. I think she'd be a lot older.
Yeah, that's
But-
kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, I didn't catch it. I didn't catch it if it was supposed to be or not.
Because I couldn't remember when she was younger if her name was. I feel like he said her name was like Patty or something. And I know
Yeah.
the older woman's name was Gwen, so I don't know. I felt like it was the same woman.
Yeah, I think she was a hang around at one point when they're in the
Okay.
apartment. I thought the same thing, that she was kind of like the obnoxious girl that was kind of like drunk and kind of goofing around on his couch.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't think it was made clear, honestly.
Okay.
So I wished it, not that the accents were a problem in this, because they really weren't, but I kind of wish every actor had just stuck to one version of the Boston accent.
It's hard.
And it's funny because even Matt Damon, there were times when I'm like, come on, man, you're from Boston. Like, what are you
Damon.
doing?
Yeah. It was almost overacted.
They all
there
were.
was I definitely had a couple of issues. Like Jack Nicholson's accent was a little heavy-handed, and there was a couple times Madeline, when Vera was talking,
Yeah.
and she would say something and I'm like, "Ugh," like, you know what? She is an incredibly intelligent woman. My guess is she probably would have learned how to speak without her accent in order to be taken more seriously. Like,
Right.
she did not have to have the Boston accent at all, and I would have
Yeah.
believed it anyways.
But she didn't in so many scenes. She didn't
But then
have
she
a
turned
Boston
around and would
accent.
have it in such a weird
Right.
way, like in like an aggressive way, and I'd be like, oh, I don't like that.
And that was, I mean, a funny thing was what's his name? Baldwin, Captain Elbury. He really had, like, he did it so subtly, Baldwin. You almost didn't notice it, but it was believable. I was like, oh yeah, he's kind of got a little.
That's
of that
the way I
Boston
think it
accent.
should be.
Yeah.
And I wish they had all played it like that. Even Wahlberg was laying it on a little heavy. I'm like, damn.
Well, you got to think he's probably been out in California for at least 10 years by that
Right.
point.
I had forgotten how young Leonardo DiCaprio was in this movie too.
Well, it's 2006, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking almost 20 years ago now.
He was so young. He's such an amazing actor.
He is.
Like, I've always thought he was just an amazing actor. But
Mhm.
it's in 2006, he hasn't quite sharpened his sword to where it is like now. It's still
Well, you got
very
to think he's got another 20 years under his belt of experience now.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, I was like, wow, he's really good, but it wasn't like he wasn't stealing the screen like he does now, which was
and
fine.
here's the crazy thing too. Like, even so, he did the Basketball Diaries with Mark Wahlberg in '95.
Wow.
Mhm.
I mean, and then God, you know what else he was amazing in was Gilbert Grape.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He's been
Yeah.
amazing in everything he's ever done. I fucking love Leonardo DiCaprio.
Mhm. I like him as an actor. I think like I kind of feel like, how like with Keanu, we're like, oh, it's Keanu. You know what I mean? Keanu is like rainbows and puppies, and
Yes.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Leonardo DiCaprio, like in like real life, from
Yes.
everything that I've heard and read, he skeeves me out.
Yeah, I don't like him as a
He-
person, as a personal person, but as
Yeah.
an actor, I like him.
Oh, he's phenomenal as an actor, but like I feel like he reminds me of almost like I hate to say it, like almost like Jack Nicholson's character in this, like skeevy with the women. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Well, isn't he dating like a 19-year-old now? And it's like,
Yes.
dude, you're in your late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not do that,
Did you guys ever see The Beach?
Yes.
Yeah. I thought that was
Way
good.
back when. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of cheesy, but I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was fun. And you've got Velda Swank. What's her name?
Tilda Swinton.
Tilda Swinton.
Velma Swank.
I said Velda.
Velda
Zelda Swank.
Okay.
That's gonna be Dez's like new assumed name now when he
Yeah, it could be his screen name.
Velda Swank.
Velda Swank.
Oh God. So another thing I wanted to ask you guys, they kept making references to Matt Damon possibly being gay. Did you guys catch that?
Yep.
So he's, there's a lot of like he's using fag and queer, and he's, everybody's gay, and I noticed that right off the bat. I was like, wow, there's a lot coming from this guy. It's a lot of like homophobe coming from this guy. And then I'm noticing that he's having trouble performing with his girlfriend, and she's saying it's no big deal. It happens to a lot of guys. Right. And there's also a strange scene, and I didn't catch it at first, but when he's looking at the apartment and the guy is saying to him, oh, you're a cop. And he's like, yeah. And they're kind of going back and forth. It's a little strange. Is there a Mrs. Cop? No, I'm single. And I was like, all right, this is getting strange.
Yeah, no, I think I'd like to say first and foremost, if you're ever in Southie, it is still, hey, faggot, hey, queer, hey.
Right.
It's just, unfortunately, that is kind of how that neighborhood can be. And that's where he's from. So you kind of could almost let it go if it was just that. But then they throw these couple of other things into it. And it really does leave you wondering what's going on there.
This movie really gave Boston a little bit of a black eye, too.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, it has a reputation of being a little bigoted. But I like
and
to
it is. Think about what happened at that Celtics game,
Yeah, but I like to think that people from Boston aren't as bad as they're painting them to be in this movie. Like they're
giving them way too much credit.
I don't know. Well, first of all, I'm from Boston and I don't want to be hunted after this podcast. It's bad though. I mean, they're really making Boston out to be like just bad.
Yeah, the funny thing about Boston is, and people who are from here understand this, and people who are not from here don't understand this, is that people will talk to you and be rude, but like if you were stuck in the middle of an intersection, people will jump out of their car and help you push yourself to the side.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like we're kind, but we're mean at the same time. Like that's kind of how Bostonians are.
It's almost like a sign of affection.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, if you're rude to somebody, you actually kind of like them.
Right.
So Boston is a tough town. It just is. Mm-hmm. And people from Boston are fucking tough. And you could be a wimpy guy in Boston. Like you could be a guy that's not a hard ass from Boston. But I found out when I moved to San Francisco that like we're pretty tough, because when we got there, it's like I got into a couple of situations and I was no problem like grabbing dudes and throwing them down. And they were like, what are you doing, man?
Right.
Like at a party, like, man, why'd you have to take it there? I'm like, because you were being a punk. You know, it's like, Boston's a tough town. I'll give it that.
It is. And I even found that like when I moved to the South, like I moved to North Carolina, and people didn't know how to take me.
Right.
They thought I was very either abrasive or aggressive or direct or sarcastic. And it's like, well, that's how it is. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the other thing. So they say about the South is that it's the opposite. They'll be nice to your face, but behind your back, they're like vipers.
Right.
Oh,
so,
girl, if somebody ever says bless your heart, punch him in the face.
Yeah, because they're basically saying go fuck yourself.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't consider myself a tough guy by any means. And anybody that knows me knows that that's not me. But your average guy from Boston against your average guy from like California at that time, it was night and day. I mean, these guys were cool and laid back. And at that point in my life, I wasn't. So,
yeah.
All right, let's get back to the movie.
All right. And just putting it out there is that we do skip over a couple scenes just to make the things continue to move. But, if you guys want to go back and touch on anything I jump over, please feel free. Because if not, we'll be at this for 8 hours. It's a 3-hour long movie. Okay, so in order to build up some street cred, since they cannot hide the fact that Billy attended the State Police Academy, he has to get himself arrested for assault. He's incarcerated for several months and makes some connections with people from Southie. When he gets out, he goes to see his aunt in Southie, complete with her oxygen tank and lit Pall Mall,
Nice.
and hooks up with a small-time crook cousin. His name is Sean, and they start doing drug deals, but it comes to a grinding halt when Costello confronts him and orders him to stop. Billy realizes that to up the ante, if he's going to get in with Costello, he needs to really up it and get his game going. So while eating lunch at a local dinerette, he sees two mafia guys shaking down the store owner. He savagely beats them both down, breaking his hand in the process. Costello confronts him once again, re-breaks his hand, and tells him that the mafia dudes will soon come back to the neighborhood with a bunch of guys to kill him, while also interrogating him to make sure that he's not a cop. It turns out that the Providence Mafia is Costello's biggest enemy, so he decides to put Billy under his protection and make him part of the crew. So that's a lot to cover there, but I thought that the scene in he's sitting in the dinerette and he's eating and he's looking at these two guys and he's like, what did you do? Come up here for some cannoli or whatever he says to him. And I was just, here we go.
Yeah.
But when he grabs the coat rack and he starts hitting the guy in the face with the coat rack, I had to look away. I was like, oh no.
That was a great scene.
Yeah, there's tons of them. I love the scene in the very beginning though, where we're going to meet, Wahlberg and
Queenan.
Martin Sheen. And, I love how Wahlberg is, you're not a fucking cop and you're never going to fucking be a cop, you're pretending to be a cop. And, Martin Sheen is just giving him full freedom to just, go at DiCaprio. And I love this scene. I thought it was really, really good. You
don't know what we do here. You don't even begin to know what we do here.
Yeah. In 5 years, you're not going to be a fucking cop. You scored 1,400 in the STAs. You're a fucking astronaut, not a state trooper. I wish that had come into play a little more in the movie too. DiCaprio was smart. It seemed like he was kind of a step ahead of everybody, but not genius. You know what I mean?
Well, I thought it was funny that both Colin and Billy are very smart guys. They both they know authors, they know people. Somebody quotes something to them, and they know what it is. And the fact that, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit. At some point, Costello asks him if he knows who Lenin is, and Billy says, "Yeah, he's the guy that came after Lincoln, right?"
The president before Lincoln.
Yeah,
yeah.
It was like he was playing dumb on purpose because he knew the answer.
Yeah, I liked Wahlberg's character a lot in this movie. I thought that,
he's actually a pretty small character, but he's a great character. He's so full of crap and so so zesty.
Yeah, he was a small character, but he was very larger than life.
Yes,
I feel like he dominated every scene that he was in, and I'm 100%. Not gonna lie. I remember bits and pieces of this from when I saw it the first time, but we were just sitting here watching it, and I had like a duh moment, and I paused and I looked at Tony. I'm like, I don't understand this. Why is he being such a dick? And he's like, honey, rewind it and pay attention. Like, you see what they're doing. And I'm like, oh, now. And I had to it was such a duh moment, but then I understood why they were behaving that way, because they wanted to see if he would crack.
Right.
And I didn't, for some reason, I didn't pick that up the first go around, and I was just like, why is he being so mean? You know what I mean? But now I'm like, oh, now I get it. Okay. And I just thought that was such a good scene. And I love how Martin Sheen just kind of let him roll with it.
Yes. And I also loved, we got this in Don't Look Up. Leonardo DiCaprio can say a lot just with his expressions.
Uh-huh.
And he is fucking on fire inside. He's looking at Wahlberg like, I want to kill you right now.
Yeah, like he wants to attack.
And he's not saying anything, and I'm loving that performance. So this whole scene in the office for me was really great. It was setting up these characters for me, and there was a lot of great character building in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Tons. And also shout out to the Southie kitchen in the aunt's house with the
nice.
the pine cabinets or whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
Just I saw them again. I was like, there they are. There's the cabinets.
Yeah. And DiCaprio too, he was big in this. I didn't realize how big DiCaprio was, because you even see him when he faces off against a couple of these different actors. He looks pretty big in this movie.
Yeah. And that scene when he's working out in jail.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, that's wow. I didn't think he was that big.
Yeah. A little taller than I remembered him. Yeah. And it really helped the cred of the scenes, like in this scene in the deli where he attacks these two guys. One of the guys is the muscle for the mob.
Right.
And you know, if DiCaprio wasn't big enough, I'm not buying this scene, but I did. I bought it. It was just fine.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely takes them unawares before they even realize what's going on.
Yeah.
You know?
And I love the scene in the bar where he's having the cranberry juice. Yo, what do you got? You period?
Yeah.
And he freaking breaks the glass off the guy's head. So then the muscle guy comes in. He says, you know, there's guys you can hit and there's guys that you
You can't.
almost can't hit. Almost can't hit. He's like, he's one that you almost can't hit. And then he ends up whooping the guy's ass. I'm like,
I loved that guy. I loved
Mr. French.
Who is it?
Mr. French.
yes.
Yeah, I know him, and I don't know what else I've seen of him, but I love that character. I loved his character.
Yeah, he's Ray Winstone, and he's been in a lot of things, and he's one of
Yeah.
those ones that kind of disappears into a movie.
Yeah,
You
He was
know,
great.
let's see, Cold Mountain Beowulf. Like it's like he's one of those though. He was in Puss in Boots, King of Thieves, you know, stuff like that. So like he just shows up in these movies, you know.
As wonderful and deep as the cast was in this movie, and it was wonderful and it was deep, and I love all of the actors that were in this, and I think on their own, they're all really, really great. Like, you know, Matt Damon and Good Will Hunting. I mean, fucking forget about it. And that he played such a more believable Boston character in that than he did in this, which is surprising to me. It was almost like they were all trying to one up each other, especially when you get a couple of guys from Boston, like Matt Damon versus Mark Wahlberg. He's like, you're not Boston. I'm fucking Boston. All right. So they were like trying to out Boston each other a little bit. But like, for instance, we were just saying with Mr. French, I wasn't very familiar with that actor. So I immediately just saw Mr. French.
Right.
But when you start getting into, like, for instance, Jack Nicholson, okay, he's a great actor. I love him and everything. But I just kept seeing Jack Nicholson. Would it have been better had they cast that down a little bit so everybody wasn't such a recognizable super Hollywood star to where I'm saying, oh, here's Jack Nicholson.
Well, here's the thing. Wahlberg. When it was Alec Baldwin, I wasn't thinking, here's Alec Baldwin.
Agreed.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
Agreed.
So that goes to show you, like, he was able to back up enough and let the character do the thing, as opposed to like, I almost think like Jack Nicholson is so overrated at this point that it's like he just can't help but be Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I wasn't blown away by his performance in this when he did the rat face and stuff. I mean, there was a lot of, I mean, he's fine. He's fine. But Martin Sheen, for instance, 10 minutes into the movie, I'm seeing Captain Queenan.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know?
Agreed.
And, you know, Matt Damon, same thing. I loved the performance. I thought it was great. DiCaprio, I thought the performance was very good. You know, Wahlberg's Wahlberg, but I was fine with it. It was more, I guess it was mostly Jack Nicholson that I kind of wasn't like fully loving it.
Right.
Not hating it, but not loving it.
Right. Well, I think it's very hard to separate Jack Nicholson from Jack Nicholson at this point.
Yeah.
It kind of is. And it's like, he's at that point where you just can't really. And he kind of plays the same guy over and over again. Yes, I know he does. He did he's done a bunch of comedy and stuff, and those are funny. You know, and he like did the romances with Diane Keaton and stuff. But I don't know.
I don't find him to be very threatening. And specifically in this, he didn't feel ruthless enough. Do you know who I think would have been fucking amazing in this part as Frank? Would have been Joe Pesci. Oh, or
he's Italian.
Joe Pesci or Ray Liotta.
Italian. And then they were in Goodfellas, both of them.
Right.
That's fine. I mean, who cares? I mean, and who cares if they're Italian? It's Hollywood. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Give me somebody like, I don't know, Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor is Frank?
Yeah.
A little young to play Frank, I think.
Young and Scottish, not Irish. Or is he Irish? I forget. He'll probably come here and punch me in the face for that.
All right. Well, then how about, what's his name there? Ewan McGregor. No, not Ewan McGregor.
He's Scottish.
He's Scottish too. But he could play Irish.
Colin Farrell?
Colin Farrell. Yes.
You know, honestly.
Granted, though, in 2006, he was way too young.
True.
He would have been like the same age as Marky Mark probably at that point.
Who I think would have been amazing, because he's very, I mean, he would have had to be younger. Like the character of Frank would have had to been younger, but I think because he's so unassuming, is I fucking love Edward Norton. I think he would have been
Oh,
an amazing Frank
love Ed
Hmm.
Norton too.
because
Love him.
he's so like I don't know. I think he would have been a great Costello.
Yeah.
Hmm. That's
So
an interesting choice.
something about this movie too, in this genre of movies, is like you got to put it up there with like Casino, Goodfellas. I mean, these are just the movies it falls in with.
Right.
It wasn't a ruthless movie, even when they were trying to be ruthless, like where Frank is holding the hand and at least you asked him what hand he jacks off with. There was nothing that I looked away or felt like that, like really spooked feeling. Like one of the most fucked up scenes I've ever seen in a movie that I literally cannot even watch because it touches me so deeply in that wrong way where you're just like, oh, that's scary.
You talking about
Is the
American History X?
No, the
Oh.
cornfield scene in Casino where the mobsters bring Nicky and his little brother out and they beat him to death with baseball bats and they bury Nicky while he's still alive. And they make Nicky watch while they beat his little brother to death with baseball bats. And he's, saying, just kill him, just kill him. And they throw them both in the shallow grave while they're still breathing and throw the dirt on them. That's a fucked up scene. That's a scary movie. That's a mob movie. This, eh.
Pretty much everybody who got it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It wasn't, a lot of torture.
No, it wasn't a ruthless movie. But
And honestly, I'm okay with that. I'm not in for torture porn, but
me neither. And that was, and Casino was torture porn, 100%.
yeah.
But I just was saying, this movie didn't reach those dark moments, that really deep, heavy, like, oh fuck, this is scary mafia stuff. But it was a brisk 2.5 hours. I wasn't looking at the clock or the ticker. I was engaged through the whole movie. So I thought the script was really tight. I thought it moved along quickly for as much exposition as was given. And I was saying to Delin, for a movie that could have been very, very, very hard to follow because there were so many characters and so many twists and so many things to remember. Is this guy mold?
So many moving parts.
It was really very easy to follow and it went very quickly. So I have to tip my hat to the writing.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely have some problems with the writing at the end, which we will get into, but
Yes.
like you said, it moved along quick. I didn't think like never looked at it and was like, wow, I'm still watching this. Like, ugh,
Right.
Which sometimes does happen.
Yeah.
All right. So Billy starts off at first with small jobs, but it isn't long before he's accompanying Mr. French, played by Ray Winstone, who's Costello's second in command on actual hits. After months of this stuff, Billy starts losing his mind with anxiety. He puts pressure on his counselor, Madeline. As far as she knows, he's just attending ordered counseling. She does give him a small prescription for some drugs, but switches him to another counselor. When she starts to walk away, Billy asks her out for coffee. Little does he know that Madeline's boyfriend is Colin Sullivan, Costello's rat in the police department. And I'm going to stop here because I feel like that needs a little, like I had said to Des earlier, it was like, you kind of have this, is he there because Queenan sent him there because he's a cop? Is he there just because it's the court order? And I think it was just the court order sending him there. And he just happened to get her, which seems a little far-fetched, but okay.
Yeah. I remember thinking, wow, that's awfully weird that he got the same
person that handles all the police.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if she's the one that's handling it every time somebody has, used their firearm and she has to talk to them, she's getting all the guys from prison too. Like it just seemed like a little bit of a stretch, but okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
like why would she get somebody that got kicked out of the academy or whatever they said? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Well,
seemed a little strange.
Those were my two thoughts on this. I had two thoughts. Either one, it was because, yeah, he was a defunct cadet. And, maybe they were like, send him to her. She kind of has a way with cops and, or Queenan knew. Queenan had a idea that possibly Colin was the mole. And he wasn't saying anything to anybody. I mean, he is a veteran. He knows now he can't say anything to anybody. He's not he just is now putting people where he wants them to see if he can flush this guy out. And he's saying, hey, I want to put these two near each other, and here's the common denominator. It's going to be the psychiatrist. It's possible.
It's possible. I mean, I think that's a little bit of a stretch, but
Well, they call me Stretch Armstrong.
Did you pull a muscle making that stretch?
Let's not move on. So there's a lot to unpack there. So she says to Billy, she says, you know, you fit the perfect description of somebody coming in here looking for meds.
Yeah.
They keep showing his prescription bottle for the Oxycontin. And they keep making a point of showing the doctor's name on it. Did it say Dr. Madeline?
No, because it wasn't his prescription. It was his mother's prescription.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's right. Okay. That was just one of my questions.
Yeah, no, it was the mother's prescription, but he started taking them because he's living in that empty house where she lived.
And are we to assume that Dr. Madeline buys her underwear at Victoria's Secrets? I'm like, wow, those are some fancy underwear.
You know what? I'm like, you're in one of these movies and you can't get her matching bra and panties. Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, her bra did not match, and I'm sorry. That's such a like my bra and panties never match. But like, I'm not in a movie doing a sex scene. So
and do you guys go to work in your fucking lacy Victoria's Secret G-strings?
I mean, I don't.
I mean, it was funny because when I went to a band practice, Delin was with me. And do you remember this when we were going for that first Damn Shame rehearsal up on the North Shore at that when we were renting out the studios? And
I remember.
You'll remember because I was wearing your Victoria's Secret underwear because I had no clean underwear. And then remember Rich Cambrell was like, dude, because I like bent over or something. He's like, dude, are you fucking wearing Victoria's Secret women underwear?
I remember.
You remember?
Yeah, I remember.
Oh shit. Fucking love those.
Like,
the Lynn Jamrums?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh no, it wasn't Lynn,
No.
was it? It was
No.
off of 128.
Yeah, no, this was like you rent these rooms out by the hour and they come with all the equipment. I was only wearing those Victoria's Secret underwear because it was a laundry day and it was all that we had in the house. And they were
commando.
They weren't a lazy.
He never goes commando.
Oh.
There's too much to hold back. And it was just let's move on. Let's move on.
Oh my God. Wow.
Let's move on.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Keep going. Keep going.
You know what I have to say? The funniest thing is when my husband and I listen to these together, he can never tell who's wheezing if it's me or Dylan.
It's usually both of us.
Oh shit.
Oh my God. Okay. At this point, it becomes apparent to all players that there's a rat in Costello's camp, but also in the state police's SIU. Colin is promoted to special investigator, tasked only with finding out who the rat is, which is perfect since it's him. He can run all sorts of smoke screens and use his position instead to work on finding out who the police informant in Costello's crew is. Colin runs surveillance on Captain Queenan under the guise of no one's in the clear when it comes to who could be the rat. But really, he's trying to figure out who the informant is this way. It backfires when both the cops and Costello's men arrive at the location, and while the cops sit with their dicks in their hands thanks to Colin's orders, Costello's men attack Queenan and throw him out a window, killing him. Billy escapes down the fire escape, and he pretends to have just arrived at the scene, jumps in the van with Costello's men as they make their getaway. I felt so bad for Queenan. He was trying to, save Billy's life, and he gets thrown out a window. It's just brutal.
I did
Mickey,
too.
take it.
I did too. And I have a fun fact about that scene.
Nice.
That scene was actually filmed at the time I was dating this guy, and he worked in that building.
Oh, no shit.
Oh, really?
And he came home from work one day and he said that he met Martin Sheen and maybe Mark Wahlberg or somebody else. Maybe it wasn't Mark Wahlberg because he wasn't in the scene.
No, he wasn't.
Somebody
It was
else.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
It definitely wasn't Leo though, but he said excuse me, think he was getting on he was either getting on or off the elevator, and Martin Sheen and the other guy were going the opposite way, and Martin Sheen said, "Hey, how you doing?" And he's like, "Hello, Mr. President." And Martin Sheen started laughing because he was on West Wing.
Right.
But he said, yeah, he said he was super nice. And he's like, yeah, they filmed the movie in my building. So that was kind
That's
of
so cool.
Yeah.
What's interesting about that is that only like 20% of this movie was actually shot in Boston. Most of this movie was shot in New York City.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I
and
thought,
that was
it was really sad to me that because I really liked his character, and you could tell like his character was like a really good cop.
Yeah, like he was trying very hard to do the right thing.
Yeah, and then he talked about his wife that he had, which bummed me out, and then just like it was just so. That's one of those scenes where you don't see a lot, but you see a lot. Like when he hits the ground as Leo is coming around the corner, it's like
Yes,
splat. You know what I mean? Like
yes,
like holy shit! Like,
yeah, and then you get the fact that Leo looks at his hand and there's blood on his hand, so he's this
right,
is just heavy-handed. He's saying, this guy's blood is on my hands.
right. Also, now that we're talking about things that did or did not get shot in Boston, can we talk about the red line, the amount of red line shots that they did?
Oh, yeah.
And how, like that boop, boop, when you get, like, I was like, oh my God, it took me right back to traveling in on the red line every single day.
And tell me the smell of that subway didn't immediately come to your mind.
I know
it
exactly what it
totally
smells
did.
like.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I miss that smell.
Me too.
Oh,
They
I
should
don't.
bottle that. It should be called like, I don't know.
South Station Funk.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
What about like Park Street Station?
Oh, Park Street Station's the worst. It smells like piss. It's so bad.
Park Street, kid. Yeah,
Park Street.
Yeah,
it has to be like PAHRK.
KHED.
Kid.
Kid.
Oh my God.
So again, now this was a question I had for Delin. So they show up and obviously Matt Damon is there. I mean Leonardo DiCaprio is there when they come downstairs, like, where were you? I was at the supermarket, whatever, and I got the call. I came as soon as I could. So the one guy gets shot, they go back to the hideout, and the guy calls DiCaprio over to him, and he says, when I got up this morning, I said to myself, whoever doesn't show up is the rat. And he said, you were late, and you're never late. And, he's like, why I didn't say anything? And, Billy is reaching for his gun, like he's ready to shoot him because he says, I gave you the wrong address.
Right.
And
On
you
purpose.
showed up. And, Billy's ready to kill him because he's got to. But the guy dies in his arms and he says, do you know why he didn't say anything? And he dies. So we're going to find out this guy was an FBI informant. And I'm guessing that he was an undercover cop because he could have told the gang, he shouldn't be here. He didn't know where this address was. I gave him the wrong address.
Right.
I think he was trying to save Colin's ass by not giving him, save Billy's ass by not giving him the right address. And then at the very end was trying to say to him, hey, I'm a cop, before he died.
I think you're right.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was actually one of those moments where they say it, but they don't say it,
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Because at first I'm like, why wouldn't he fucking tell them? I'm like, oh, he's a fucking cop.
Yep. All right. So after Queenan's murder, Colin is given access to Queenan's belongings and files. In the notes, there's mention that Costello is an FBI informant and has been protected. He's been giving up police who have outlived their usefulness to him. Colin decides to use the information he's been receiving from Billy, because in Queenan's stuff was also the phone that he used to talk to Billy, and put an end to Costello. After a very quick and very bloody shootout, Colin finishes off Costello and is hailed the hero of the day. Billy barely escapes the scene and is waiting to talk to Colin, unaware that he is Costello's rat. Billy doesn't want to be a cop anymore. He just wants his identity back. Colin agrees and leaves his office for a moment to get Billy his promised bonus, but Billy sees an envelope on Colin's desk that would only be with Frank Costello's rat, and he runs off. When Colin returns, he realizes that Billy must have found out about him, so he deletes Billy from the police system and basically erases any trace of him ever being an undercover cop or being in their system. So I know I jumped over an awful lot with that, but I know Des has something to say about the envelope.
Yes. Yeah. So we see this scene where Billy gives Dr. Madeline the envelope and says, only.
different envelope.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
This
yeah.
is the
Okay.
citizen's envelope.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The citizen's envelope. Yeah. So Billy sees it on the desk, and um, Colin says, I'm going to go and I'm going to, bring up your files and basically bring you back into existence so we can, get you paid and get your identity back. And, Billy says, I don't care about the fucking money or your fucking medal. He goes, I just want my life back. And he's like, well, I'm going to go to the computer and we're going to get your life back. So when he's gone, he notices the envelope with his handwriting on it. And he knows at that moment that Colin is the fucking mole. So all he wants is his life back, right? So instead of taking the envelope and tucking it under the book, so Colin has no idea that he's seen it, and letting Colin come back in and say, all right, great, you're a hero. Here's your money. Here's your identity. And, now Billy can just go on with his life, leave the force, and just wash his hands of this whole experience, which is all he wants. He's made that clear. No, he's going to pull the envelope out, leave it on the desk so Colin knows that he's seen it, and he's going to escape the police department. This is fucking makes absolutely no sense to me. And then it makes even less sense when he calls him up and draws him onto the rooftop and is saying to him, all I want is my fucking identity back. I'm going to arrest you so I can get it back. And it's like, now Colin's like, no, I've already wiped your files out. You no longer exist. That can't happen. So none of this makes sense to me. This is a hole in the plot.
Yeah, because like you said, he literally could have accepted his check, accepted his Medal of Honor, and then been like, by the way, that's your rat right there. And it instead of this thing of trying to arrest him on a rooftop, like,
Or not said anything at all. Or just
not said
taking
anything
that,
at all.
just taking that fucking knowledge to the grave with him. Who fucking cares?
Yeah, I mean, if all he wanted was his identity back and didn't care about doing the right thing, just get your money, get your medal, and walk away.
Yeah, he escaped this experience with his life. I think he feels fucking lucky that he wasn't chopped into pieces and fed to the fish.
Yeah.
And what? Now for what? For nothing you're going to get back into this? No. He's just going to take his check and his identity and walk out the door and be done with it.
I also think that I find it hard to believe that one single digital record is all that's being deleted accidentally or on purpose is what stands between you and being like you didn't ever work for the Boston Police Department. Like that seems like that might be kind of a loophole.
And
too.
then at the end at his funeral, we see that we see everybody knows he's a cop again, and there's pictures of him as a cop at the eulogy.
Yes. Yeah, and he gets the 21 gun salute. You only get that when you're a cop or you're military, right?
Yeah.
So, but let's not jump that far ahead. So,
Sorry.
I mean, Mickey, so what did you notice that in The Office?
I did notice that, and I thought,
you almost have to wonder if he thought that he was in danger still, and that's why he ran.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. Like, and it almost looked like he tried to shove it underneath, and maybe he was just so freaked out that he didn't get it all the way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if he intentionally left it out so Matt Damon would know that it was him. Like, I don't know. Like, that's a hard one to call.
Well, it didn't look like he left it out so he would know, but he left it out enough to where Matt Damon noticed it the second he went into the office, and also noticed Leonardo DiCaprio was fucking gone.
Right.
But there was
kind of a tip off.
Yeah, but there was a scene before that where Leonardo creeps down the hall and looks over Colin's shoulder and sees him working on the computer. Now, I don't know if I missed a scene where it looked like Colin was doing something nefarious with Billy's portfolio.
Right. Well, I also wonder too was if he was looking to like mess with the portfolio to make it look like he was a bad guy or something, you know?
But it didn't seem like it because he came in with the paperwork. He's like, hey, everything fucking checks out. We're all good to go here.
Yeah, but so here's the other question. He goes, let me go use this other computer because my computer goes kablooey. And it was like, what? Like,
what? Yeah.
What?
So why did he have to do it from the other room? That's what I was saying. I'm feeling like I missed something when DiCaprio was looking through the window and watching Colin on the computer. I think I missed something in that scene.
I don't know, but I do know. I do feel like when he hit like delete, you can't do that. Like there's
Yeah, there's got to be fail safes to that.
There's fail safes. I mean, especially an organization like that, they back up their data every hour.
And it wouldn't even be, you couldn't delete it. It would be something that would say like, this is, a non, working operative or something. I don't know. You wouldn't just be able to just delete out somebody.
Yeah, you'd have to have a certain type of, like, I don't know, like, I don't even know, like a certain type of clearance to do that. You'd need like, I don't know, but
well, it seems like at this point, Colin has the clearance. He's basically has Queenan's job.
Yes.
You know?
I don't know. I just, the whole delete thing, I was like, you
Yeah.
can't delete. And I'm the first person to say, like, well, I will watch movies and Tony will be like, you can't, blah, blah, blah. Especially if
it's not a movie if they do the thing,
right.
you know.
Especially with guns involved, because he's a, a gun aficionado, and he knows a lot about guns, and he'll go, you can't do that with that kind of, and I'm like, ugh, you know what I mean? Or if I'll watch like Jurassic Park and I'll get like really sad, and he'll go, they're CGI dinosaurs, Mick. I'm like, and I'll be like, can you just believe for 90 minutes? You know what I mean? And so I'm usually the last person to go, that's bullshit. But like deleting, that's bullshit. Like you can't. You know what I mean? Like,
Agreed. I agree. I was like, there's no way that you could just delete somebody out of the Massachusetts State Police, registry of people who work or have worked for, there's just no way.
So has he had the affair with Dr. Madeline yet?
Yes, and I'm not sure exactly why, where I jumped over that, but at some point they have, yes, that has happened.
I thought that was a little strange too, because I wasn't sure why Dr. Madeline was attracted to Leonardo.
Thank you.
Yeah, me neither.
And it seemed like she was like a very, like a high morals woman, a professional, a doctor. Seems like she was in love with Colin, and they were getting ready to start like a serious life together. And I just don't know why she's fucking this guy behind her boyfriend's back.
I feel like part of it was tried to be explained with the picture of her as a kid.
Yeah,
remember?
Definitely, and I saw that.
Yeah, Colin pulls out the picture of her as a kid and goes, well, this is going in the other room. Like, this isn't, and she's like, why? And he's like, this doesn't belong in the living room. And he hides it. And she's like, what the fuck?
And then Billy shows a little interest in it. She's like, fuck me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, now, like, I'm not sure if that was supposed to be like some sort of a thing, like, seeing her for who she is and letting her be herself kind of a thing. Colin definitely was, having her play the role,
right.
I don't know. He was just letting, I mean, I'm reading into it, obviously, but
I mean, you're going to betray your relationship because some guy likes you.
No, I would think at this point, if you're interested in him, you got to let Colin go. I mean, and Colin said to her, if this isn't going to work, you just need to leave, because I'm never going to leave. I'm an Irishman. I'll just stay in a bad relationship forever. Right. So it was like,
and there's some scenes like she's crying behind him. We're going to get a scene later in the movie where she says to Leo, there's something I want to tell you. He says, wait 2 weeks. If you still want to tell me then. She's going to tell him that she's pregnant and it's his baby.
Right.
I think she knows that she has been impregnated by Billy. I think she also knows that there's something up with Colin. He's having trouble performing sexually. He's obviously a bad cop. She knows this. She knows that he is, she knows he's a bad cop. She knows he's fucked up.
Yeah. Well, she knows that he's up to something, because there's like there's like 2 different times where, he's on the phone and she's looking from like, and they're giving you that double shot where you can see her watching him, and she's like, something's up. And, he's going, this is all part of my job. And she's like, I don't think so. 'Cause he was talking to Jack Nicholson. He wasn't talking to like a subordinate.
And coincidentally enough, the tape or the CD that she gets that comes from Billy, that just happens to be a recording of the conversation that he was having on the balcony while she was in the kitchen.
Nope. It was the conversation in the nudie show.
Are you sure?
Yes. 100%.
Okay.
The conversation they were having was the one where he goes to the peep show.
I thought, I don't think so. No, it's when he's on the back porch. He's saying, let me do what I do. Let me do what I do. It was the conversation from the porch.
It definitely 100%. Wasn't. It definitely was. I can't wait till next week when I tell everybody that I was right. Ah.
Oh God. All right.
All right, my friends, moving on. Upon Costello's death, Billy is given a bunch of tapes of conversations Costello had with people. He was paranoid and recorded everything. He left the tapes to Billy, so in a weird way, Billy was actually one of the people he actually trusted, especially since Mr. French died in the shootout. These tapes prove that Colin is guilty and is the mole. Billy tells him to come meet him. When Colin arrives, Billy pistol whips him and attempts to arrest him. However, instead of bringing Dignam with him like Billy asked him to, Colin has brought 2 cops that are loyal to him. On his way out of the building, Billy is shot in the head. Then one of the other cops gets shot because the third cop, a kind of dude bro that's been in the background all along, reveals that he was also on Costello's payroll. He knew that Colin was the rat all along and kept quiet. Colin, seeing a chance to make a clean break with all of the Costello business, shoots that cop in the head as well, then spins a tale about how Billy was a good cop and he was trying to debrief him and they were both attacked by the bad cop before Colin was able to kill him. Now, this is one of the huge problems I have with this. You want to tell me that Costello let this schmutz that is just one of his people in the business know that Colin is the head honcho mole, but Colin doesn't know about the schmutz. You want to tell me that? I'm not buying that.
No, and the schmutz was actually made a plainclothes detective on the recommendation of Colin. Colin basically got him that. He's like, you want to show up looking like you're fucking invading Poland every day?
Yes, that's the same guy.
Same guy. So, yeah, I agree. There's no fucking way that this guy has more information than fucking everybody else in the movie.
Yeah. You can't tell me that he knows everything.
Out of nowhere. This guy who was like, you barely saw him in the whole movie.
Yeah, he's the dude bro in the back.
And that makes sense. And I forgot about that scene. And then when he shot Billy, I was like, holy shit. Like, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing I don't understand. When Matt Damon was given his statement and he's like, and he's kind of giving him the rundown of what happened. He's like, and then he turned on me, so I had no choice but to shoot him. You shot him on the side of the head when he's coming at you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it would have held up in a court of law, quite frankly, but everyone was so busy thinking he was the hero that they weren't going to dig into it.
Yeah, so I feel like Scorsese missed some opportunities here at the end. So we got a 2.5 hour movie with a very, very tight script and very, very clever twists and turns. And at the very end, he's going to wrap everything up with this bullshit like, I shoot you, you shoot him, he shoots you, you shoot him, he shoots you, and then you shoot him, and then the movie's over. It's like, dude, I could have wrote that on a fucking dinner napkin at Arby's. It's like, no, come on, man. There's a better ending to the movie than this. There just is. There's a better ending to the movie than this.
That's a 2 a.m. Denny's napkin story.
Yeah, yes. It is.
Yes, it is.
It doesn't fit the rest of this movie. It doesn't.
And poor Anthony Edwards, who's that's his name, the one poor black cop in the entire thing who ends up getting shot in the head. Like, he was a good cop through the whole thing. He was a friend of Billy's, and he gets it in the head.
The one black guy that lives in Boston in this movie. I mean, like, we don't even see another black guy like walking around, working anywhere. It's like he is it. And they actually make a point. You already got it tough enough being a black guy in Boston. It's like, come on, man. It's not 1977 South Boston. I mean, I would hope to think we're a little bit more,
there's definitely more black men on the force now than there was then.
Oh, God, it's so bad. It's so bad.
It was bad. It was bad. There was not a lot of racial diversity in this movie.
There definitely was not. But yeah, I thought that this was a cheap ending, getting wrapping up all these and doing it all in one scene, all in 3 minutes.
It's like boom, 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 boom. Oh shit, we're over. We're done.
Yeah, and then you got Colin when he's giving his statement and he's like, yeah, and then I noticed that the other 2 cops were expired. I'm like, okay. Like, are there any real detectives in this movie? Because this fucking is not adding up, any of this. What were you guys doing on the roof? Why was he handcuffed? Why did he get shot in the side of the head? No, that's how it happened. Okay, great. Fucking, let's promote this guy to president.
Yeah, because I'm watching it, I'm like, if he says the guy comes at him but then the guy was clearly shot in the side of the head, towards
like, what did he do? Run towards him with his head to the side?
Right?
Yeah, this crime scene is just, there's no way to describe it for Matt Damon, where he's going to come out of this thing looking like a hero. There's no way you're describing this thing. Like, no, how did you wind up on the roof? Why were you talking to this guy? Why was it? It's like none of it's going to make sense. Like the only thing he can say is, well, I'm the mole and he was the other fucking rat. And, you know, and I had to
Yeah.
shoot this guy because he knew my real identity. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, true. So before he gets shot and killed, Billy, he had given an envelope to Madeline and said, if something happens to me, open this envelope. Now, I was disappointed that you never see the envelope again. Now, I'm sure the thing that happens at the very end of the movie that we're about to get to is because of the envelope. She opens
Yes.
it, she reads what's inside it, and she tells Dignam
Well,
about what's inside it. And whether she passes the tapes to Dignam as well, I don't know, because they spent 2.5 hours showing you this movie and then didn't actually explain the end.
yeah, they
Which-
should have. The end of this movie should not have
Wait,
been that.
yeah, don't jump ahead. Let me
All
read
right.
it. And then, so it appears that Colin will get away with all of this scot-free, even having the balls to attend Billy's funeral. However, Madeline does leave him, refusing to even discuss the baby she is pregnant with him. She knows he's responsible for Billy's death and much more. In the movie's final scene, Colin returns home with some groceries and gets shot through the head by Sergeant Dignam, the only person left in the world who knows about Billy being an undercover cop. Dignam walks away, leaving Colin on the floor of his fancy apartment with the view of the State House.
Okay.
So have at it.
So, all right. First of all, we know for a fact now that Dr. Madeline was impregnated by Billy because one, she didn't bother telling Colin because there was no reason to because it wasn't his child. Two, you'll notice Colin looks over at
She
Dr.
did tell him.
Madeline and
Oh no, she
she's
tells him that she's pregnant, but then when they're at the funeral and he says to her, "What about the baby?" and she just keeps walking.
yes.
She's like, "It's Billy's baby anyway, so fuck you." She just keeps going.
And Colin looks over at her and she's the only one at this funeral bawling. And he
Right.
makes a face like, why the fuck is she crying? Like nobody else here's crying. Why is she so broken up about this guy's death? And then he makes a face and you know right then and there that he knows what's been going on, that she has been sleeping with him. So I feel like the ending of this movie should have been something more like this. Okay. She goes to the desk. She looks at the envelope, and then we see Marky Mark open up the envelope. We see Colin coming home, same as he did. He opens the door, and the FBI is waiting to arrest him. They've got the evidence. They've got the tapes. She's tipped him off. There's something in the envelope we're going to get to see and go, there it is, the smoking gun that, that proves that he's the guy. Instead, we get this absurd fucking ending where now fucking Marky Mark is going to be like American Psycho.
He's like Dexter.
He's like Dexter. He's, it's just such a bullshit ending. I want something where we think that Billy is dead, but he's not. Okay. So we're going to rewrite that just a little bit to where we think Billy is dead. And then we're going to get the ending where Matt Damon gets arrested by Marky Mark. And then we get the twist ending where we see Madeline and Billy together. And you're like, oh my God, he didn't die. There's my ending.
I honestly would have liked that better. I understand why it is the way it is, but I would have liked it better that way.
I agree with you. Although they may not be able to call it The Departed if they.
Yeah, I know, because at the end, everybody in the fucking movie has departed.
You know what I did like though was the symbolism at the end with the rat on the.
Oh yeah, I mean it's very much on the nose, but yes, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, with the State House, the golden
State House,
because they gave us a couple of shots of Colin in the exact same shot. They've just taken Colin out now and put the rat there.
Yep. I love it.
So earlier in the movie, we're also gonna learn now that Colin is going to kill everybody that can tie him to being the mole. Everybody. They've got to die. Even his best buddy there from the academy, that he gets the gig as the undercover cop. Even though he says, we got each other's backs now, we got to look out for each other, he shoots him in the back of the head when he's not looking because he is now cutting everybody out that knows he's the rat. But Dr. Madeline, this is fine. She's heard the tape. She knows that I'm the rat. What? He would have fucking he would have had her killed. He would have called Frank the day that she played that disc in the living room and says, I know you're a fucking dirty cop. He would have called Frank and been like, she needs to have an accident. You know, she needs to have
He
an
would have just
accident.
killed her right in the apartment, I think. I don't think he would even bother giving her an accident.
Nah, he would have had Frank have one of his goons do it. I mean, he's a
shit.
he's a high ranking cop at the Boston Police Department. He's not gonna kill her himself when he's got
Yeah.
ties to the
I think
mob.
he's too much
Probably.
of a coward to kill her.
Yes. Yeah. He would have had, Mr. French do it. Would have looked like a mugging or whatever. But yeah, there's no way she's going to escape with this information.
No, I do agree with that. Like you said, he has pretty much made a career out of offing everybody else that has anything to do with it or knows anything about him.
Yeah, and also Sergeant Dingham, he's a loose cannon, but he's not a murderer. He's not a dirty cop, and he's not a vigilante, and he's not going to do this at the end. He's going to take down fucking Colin the right way. And as we know, there is fucking plenty of evidence floating around to get that ending to this movie. Like, you barely even have to write anymore to do it,
No, I mean, he's got all those tapes. And if he's saying to her, I mean, even if he doesn't live, even if he just says to her, the tapes are in a safety deposit box, this is where it is, you can find all this information, this, and this. I've written everything I know down, and just go get it and bring it to Sergeant Dignam.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, that's all I need.
I think they also maybe wanted to show, like, because you see it through the whole movie, how much Dignam and Colin fucking despise each other.
No,
and
this is true.
I think they wanted to show, like, as far as he was concerned, this guy didn't deserve a trial. He didn't deserve anything. He was responsible, really, for Martin Sheen's death. He was responsible for so many deaths. Fuck him. Period. Like, he hated him so much.
Yeah, but do you know why I don't think that plays in this movie? Is because when Billy gets Colin on the roof finally, and they're in the elevator, and finally Colin understands Billy's got him dead to rights, and he can't talk his way out of this. He says, just fucking kill me. Just kill me. And Colin says, Billy, just kill me. And Billy says, I am killing you.
Yeah.
Because he understands that at this point, Colin would rather die than be marked as the rat in Boston. And
it's a fate worse than death.
It's a fate worse than death. And that's why at the end I felt like
and Mark gave him the easy way out.
Yeah, I felt like the director gave the character the easy way out, where we've been you built this thing up. You gave us an envelope, you gave us fucking all these conversations that have been stored away. You've given us the doctor that knows the truth. And you've also set up that he would rather die than be convicted of being a rat. And none of this plays back at the end of the movie. And it's just like, what a wasted opportunity.
True.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I liked the ending.
I did. No, I did. I liked the ending too. Don't get me wrong. I liked everything about this movie. I thought it was very good, but it's our job to point out things like this.
Right. That's why we're reviewing it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So shall we get into our scores?
Yeah, let's do it. Mickey, what's your rewatch score for The Departed?
The Departed. I was saying The Departed earlier, and Tony said you can't say it that way. You have to say Departed.
Yeah.
Departed.
The Departed. I think, like I said before, I love the cast in this movie. And I thought, there were certain characters that I really liked. Overall, I think I saw it when it first came out. And I haven't seen it again until now.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably give it maybe like a 3.75 rewatch.
5.
I don't know if I need to see it again for another, 10 years or whatever.
Yeah, this was the second time I'd seen the movie as well. Dylan, what's your rewatch score for The Departed?
I'm going to say that I definitely agreed with the points that we made about the ending almost feeling like it was rushed a little bit, and some rather large plot holes. And I always make fun of people for being like, I could have written a better ending. I always make fun of people that do that. And here I am doing it. But I felt like something it could, I don't know. I would have appreciated a little bit more thoughtful ending, I guess. This
Mhm.
felt almost like the easy way out,
Yep.
just like Colin got the easy way out.
Yep.
So I'm going to give it a 3.25.
3.25. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much echo all the same thoughts you guys just had about the movie. Um, I really wanted to see Billy live, and I think being
Same.
such a deep undercover operative, I feel like they could have written in a twist where, almost like the witness protection program, where they could have faked his death and he could have popped up at the end of the movie with the doctor. But that's just because I love rom-coms and I'm a fucking romantic. So whatever. I'm not going to ding the movie because I'm a goon. So I think I like this one a little better than you guys. It's 2.5 hours. It didn't drag. It was good. It was a nice tight script. We get a lot of great performances. So I'm going to give this a 4.25. It's really good. So with Mickey's 375, Dylan's 325, and my 425, I think this comes out to a solid 4 rewatches. It's a way above average movie. It's fucking good. It's really good. So if you haven't seen The Departed, what are you waiting for, kid? Fucking go see it. Like always, love watching movies from separate rooms with you, Delin. Mickey, fucking always awesome doing podcasts with you. You bring a lot to the show.
Thank you.
For all the listeners, we thank you guys for coming, and we hope to hear from you with your ideas and movie suggestions. And also want to give a shout out to Pat. It was his birthday yesterday.
Hey, happy birthday, Pat.
Happy birthday, Pat.
Yes, he turned 105.
That's 105 in smokers' years.
Yeah, exactly. We will be back next week where we will be reviewing Dodgeball.
Nice.
And we'll be doing that one with Pat. Great movie. I know he's never seen it, so I'll be interested.
I can't wait for him to see it. Oh,
yeah.
So good.
You've never seen it?
Never seen it.
Oh my God, I could probably recite that movie.
Pat is
Me
a creature
too.
of habit. Pat likes to watch the same things over and over and over and over. So he will be watching Dodgeball for the first time, and then we will be back the week after with Tony, where we will be reviewing. Oh yeah, get ready for this one: Streets of Fire. Haven't seen this movie in probably 25 years or more. I don't know what to expect, but I did read a little thing that said it's a movie set in the 50s with lots of neon from the 80s and it's shot like an 80s MTV music video. So I'm looking forward to that one.
I haven't seen it in years either, and I'm actually really looking forward to listening to it because I feel like I remember liking it, and I remember really liking Michael Paré in it.
Oh, and fucking Willem Dafoe and his plastic pants that come up to his nipples. That's all I remember. I'm like, damn, he was cool. And then we'll be back the week after that where we will be reviewing what movie is it? The Witch one.
Oh, The Craft.
The Craft. And that one was chosen because, you guys love your potions. So there it is. So until next time, I only have one question for you. Delin, do you want to take it this week?
Oh, I'll take it for sure.
Do it.
Hey, did you ever see that movie?
Fucking ain't right, I did. Bye. Isn't that cool?
Okay, we're recording now.
We're curding? What's that? Is that like cheese? Curd?
Jackass.
I like dill. All right. Are we ready?
Yes.
And I was wearing fucking Delin's Victoria's Secret underwear. They're very comfortable.